Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. We are going to get back on with the Ariel leader engine for the Ariel Bantam project, and we're just going to finish off what we started in the last video where we were stripping the engine components down, and we got as far as removing the flywheel, but we didn't get as far as taking the crankshafts out. So that's what we're going to do in this video. And it might seem a little bit strange. I say things like the video's getting a bit long and I'm sorry that it's, I'm taking up too much of your time. And the reason for that is because this section of video that I'm giving you tonight was meant to be on the end of the last video, but it just got too long. It was too big a chunk to upload to YouTube, and it was well over an hour. And usually when I put videos out of that length, you've had enough of me by sort of 40 minutes, and you don't want to watch me for an hour and 20. So you're going to get about 20 minutes tonight, and we're going to finish off the strip down of the Ariel engine. And there's a couple of sort of false finishes, because I get to certain points where I think, well, that's it, we're not going to do any more, and then you know me, I can't help it, and I have to push on and do just that little bit more. And anyway, you'll see the outcome. I hope that you enjoy it. But let's get on, do some work, and get the rest of this engine stripped down. Right, hopefully you can see that. You're a little bit in the way. Let me move you back a bit. There we go. So we're going to pull this crankcase door, which will expose the crankshaft. So we've got 2 screws and 3 nuts, 1/2 inch AF. So we'll whip those off. Do you need to see me whip 3 AF nuts and 2 screws out? Not really. Well, it turns out there were 3 screws. There was one hidden under there. It did not want to come out. A little bit of rust on the threads, quite a lot of 2-stroke goo. In fact, the lower, I think there's been a bit of a leak. The lower screws were very, very gooey. But we've got the extractor fitted now, and as you can see, we're now using the outer holes in the extractor, and these are actually again, with this thing about every thread is unified, these were 1/4-20. They're definitely Whitworth threads. So there you go. I've interposed a socket step down between the crankshaft and the forcing screw, because you don't get anything in the kit. That bolt would just disappear up the hole in the crankshaft. So we're going to have to make something in the future, but that hopefully will do us for now. So let's give it a go and see if this crankcase door will come off. Hopefully the warming up with the torch has helped a bit. Definitely something is happening. Sounds like me when I get up in the morning. Oh, there's definitely a gasket in there anyway, so. Right, I think we're there. Yeah, I'd say we were there. Doesn't quite want to come off the end for some reason. I think we'll remove the let's remove the extractor tool. It's probably the best bet. Get that out of the way. Yeah, that was worth an extra little bit of scrutiny. We just needed to micro mesh the end of the crankshaft. There was a slight burr on it, stopping this cover from coming off. Main bearings possibly due, I think, don't you? And yeah, it's rough as old Harry. Just quoting Cliff there again. And yeah, there's a sleeve there at the end that's trapped between the casing and the bearing, so that will come out when we take the bearing out, I would think. So that's the end cover, or the door. I think I'm just going to move you again so that you get a better view of the crankshaft. There you go. Get a light so that you can see all the glory. So there you go. Crankshaft looks alright. Dirty. Carbon. There's the Rockies that we sprayed in there to free everything up, which did the job admirably. Journals on the crankshaft look alright, to be fair. A little bit of rust there, surface rust. It's coming off with my thumb, so not too bad. Yeah, so we've got to get this thing locked now and get the hexagon bit down the middle so that we can remove the centre bolt. So I'll get set up for that and I'll bring you back. I'm obviously conscious of how much of your time I'm taking up on this video. So I'll try to keep the waffle to a minimum. That'll be a change, won't it? Okay, I'm set up to extract the centre bolt now. So this is the tooling that I bought, and this is there's an outer plate that mounts on the engine door mounting points. You get this bar, which has got a flat milled on it, which locks the crank through one of the holes in the crank. The flat is to clear the connecting rod, and then we've got our 3/8 long hex bit down the centre of the crank into the centre bolt. So I don't know how tight this is going to be. I've got a breaker bar. Hopefully not too bad. Oh, I don't know though. Yeah, that is very tight. That is very tight. Okay, I don't want to snap the bit, and I don't want to round off the hex key, so try a different approach. Well, we've made a little bit of progress. We've taken some steps forward, but we've taken some huge steps backwards as well. I did manage to get the crankshaft centre bolt to start moving. How it works, it effectively is a bolt and an extractor. So you undo it and it goes tight again, and then it starts effectively extracting one crank from the other and breaking the taper. And as you can see, that crank is now loose. The problem is, to get the cranks out, you need to have both cranks moving. And you need to remove both crankcase doors. We've removed it on this side, obviously you can see that, but on the other side it's refusing to move. I think what's happened is, if you cast your mind back to Peter's B175 when we were stripping the engine down long time ago, the bearings were completely seized on the shaft, on the crankshaft. So the inner race here was completely rusted to the crankshaft, and on Peter's bike, on the B175 Bantam, the casings wouldn't split apart. And I think that's what we've got here. Because that near side crankcase was full of water, I think that the bearings rusted to the shaft. The problem is that the inner race is a long way from the outside. So if we apply some heat with a heat gun or a propane torch or something like that, we're not really getting the heat to where we need it. I don't think that's going to work. But if we don't get the other door off, we can't get the cranks out. It's that simple. So we are at an impasse. I think what I'm going to do is fill it up with penetrating oil, leave it for a bit, and then just keep coming back to it and just toing and froing with the puller to see if we can get some movement, because I don't want to break anything. Yeah, we'll just have to see really. I think we might have to end the video here, which is a bit of a disappointment because I was hoping to get this done and show you all the components. And looking in here, pulling the crank out a bit, I can see the end of the near side crankshaft, and it does look as though someone's been at it. So I'm a little bit concerned that we're going to have a similar situation to the one that Tweedy removed, because there's a taper and a keyway on the end of the shafts, and to key them together, keep the timing, and obviously keep them locked together. And if that's damaged, then the engine won't run properly. We won't be able to keep the cranks timed to each other, and potentially we won't be able to lock them together sufficiently well for the engine to run properly. So yeah, we won't know until we get it apart, and we can't get it apart at the moment. So yes, I think it's time to call it. Fill it up with penetrating oil, walk away for a bit, and just come back as and when it does eventually come free. I will switch the camera on and I will share it with you. But at the moment, we're ending on a bit of a disappointment. I couldn't resist one last attempt, guys, so apologies if the video gets a little bit overlong. I've had the penetrating oil in there overnight, and I've pulled the seal out, and I've had penetrating oil down the shaft that way. We just had the heat gun on, so we're going to crack on because I don't want it to cool down. But as you can see, it is moving. We're getting somewhere, and I'm using the rattle gun to just coax it off. And the shock has definitely helped, and there goes some more of the oil. I've got the window open in the workshop because I effectively filled the workshop with smoke from the oil. Just got to be a bit careful because everything's still rather hot. So yeah, that was well stuck in there, and you can see, you know, we've had lots of water in there, and the shaft doesn't look too bad, to be honest with you. But you can see that the penetrating oil has definitely got into the bearing, and that's the stuff. It really does work well, so thanks, Rock Oil. Right, let's get this cleaned out. Oh my goodness. That feels pretty bad. Right, so hopefully we can get this crank to move this way a little bit and get the other crank out. So let me just change positions and I'll bring you back. Well, I wanted you in for the win, as it were. And we've managed to get one crankshaft liberated. Yeah, there's a circlip there. That is the circlip that's supposed to hold the centre bolt, and it has fractured and is sitting in the bottom of the crankcase, so that doesn't bode well. The other crank is completely stuck in the centre bearing. It's seized in the centre bearing. So I think that's why, let me bring you round so that you can actually see down there. Get some light on the matter. Yeah, I think that is why we couldn't get the crank out, because the near side crank was refusing to move. It wouldn't move. So we couldn't get the clearance on this crank. But yeah, it must have moved a little bit, I think. It must have moved a little bit. And this one has now come out. It doesn't look terrible. I can see the key down there. I don't know if you can see it. Let me just check what you're seeing. Yeah, you can just see the block of the key down there. It looks like it's in reasonably good condition. doesn't look as though it's been spinning, which was my fear. And the keyway on the crank, on the other crank rather, doesn't look too bad, but we're not going to know until we get it out of there. But we're going to have to try and extract that crank now to get it out of the crankcase, because it's completely stuck. And I don't want to go beating at it because, you know, that will be counterproductive. These shafts are difficult to source. There's quite a lot of corrosion around the end of that one. I'm hoping that it's going to come up. But at least we got one out, and I think we're going to leave it there because I'm going to let that soak. I'm going to let the get some penetrating fluid in that end and let that soak before we try to press it through that bearing. So there you go. What a saga. What a saga indeed. So apologies for the video running on a little bit longer, but I did want you to be in for the win, as it were. And this is the crankcase door that we struggled to remove, and you can see how long there's been water sitting in there, because it's effectively a riverbed in the bottom of the door, and that bearing is completely solid. It will not turn at all. It is completely locked solid. So there you go. A tale of woe and partial destruction. And I think we will call it there. Postscript. I could not help myself. I'm sorry. I do this. I know I do this to you every time. I just gave it a few taps with a copper drift, and out it came. So, the wonders of penetrating oil. Look at the state of that. That has been the root cause of all the problems dismantling this engine. Keyway looks still square, so if we're going to salvage any kind of a win from this, it's that keyway still looks square. We'll know the rest when we get it all stripped down, but yeah, nasty. We just got to get the centre bearing out now and the centre seal. I will do that off camera. It's just knocking a bearing out. It's probably going to be a bit nasty, but we'll get some heat on it. Now we can get in there with the heat gun and heat the aluminium up. Hopefully it will just fall out once we get the aluminium hot enough. But that's it. That definitely is it this time, guys. The next frame will be me saying goodbye to you and closing out the video. Well, there we go, the end of another one. Thank you very much indeed for watching. It is appreciated, and as I said in the video, I wanted you guys to be in for the win, and we got there in the end. Both crankshafts, I'm pointing down there because that's where it is, both crankshafts removed, and I've got them here. Some of the parts I've already put through the squeaky cleaner, so I will show you those now. Incoming. This is the recalcitrant engine door, or engine cover, crank cover. As you can hear, the bearing that was completely solid has freed up in the cleaner, but yeah, I think beyond a drop of oil, don't you? The good news is though, that around the edges where it was really badly corroded, it's come quite clean, and I think that with a good vapor blast or something like that, this will be as good as new. So I'm really pleased with that. The other one is just as good as well. Crankshafts, I've got them here. Here is the one that was sitting in the water, and am I showing you that? I've got my screen on there. I can see what's going on. Yes, you can see. I think you can see the contrasting colours. That's the corrosion. You can see the tide mark where the water was, the level that it had got to in the crankcase. It's not, you know, it's not as bad as it could have been. There's a bit of corrosion on that seal surface, which I'm hoping will clean up. If it doesn't, it could be an issue. The taper seems good. The keyway is very good, so that's good. lots of good. There was a bit of hammering that I could see when I was looking down the crankcase mouth on the end of the crankshaft. There's a bit of a burr on it there. It's not as bad as I thought. It will clean up, so that's not too bad. This side, we've got a bit of a groove where the seal's been sitting, so yeah, we might have to think about that. Maybe it's a candidate for sleeving. I don't know. Maybe we can polish it up and it'll be fine. We'll see. The rod, of course, is completely, finished. Well, certainly the bearing is. It feels terrible. It's not meant to be chronometric, is it? But it is at the moment. Anyway, that's that one. The other one is visually better. We've got some corrosion around this lead surface here, which has crept onto the seal surface, which, not great. We'll have to see how that cleans up. The other side, much better. The seal surface is really good. There's a bit of how's your father going on there on that edge. We'll have to clean up, and I already cleaned up a burr on that outside edge there, so that we could get the crankcase door off. The rod, again, it doesn't feel good. It's very, very notchy, and this rod has had some, it's had a hard life. There's some distortion in there. Someone's been hitting it with something, or lever, I don't know, something. Anyway, it's not had a great life, so that's, sung its last song, I'm afraid. But yeah, so we've got 2 crankshaft rebuilds to do. We've got some repairs to do on them, and hopefully we can salvage something from that. Next time around, we'll be looking at the gearbox. I've had a little bit of a play to see if I could get some gears. I haven't got a gear lever for it. I managed to find one in my box of bits that would just about go on and tighten up, but I didn't like it. I didn't want it to slip and damage the splines, so I was very careful with it. I managed to find first, which is, I believe they're 1 up and 3 down. Yeah, I could get a gear in the up position. I couldn't get anything in the down position. So who knows? We've probably got an empty gearbox, with no cogs in it. Who knows? We won't know until we get in there. But yeah, it did not feel great. So par for the course, I think, with this engine and gearbox unit. Yeah, we'll have some fun and games on the next one, won't we? After that, once we've got everything stripped down and cleaned, we're going to get back on with the rolling chassis. We've got the stem to make, so a nice lathe job to do, and hopefully try and get it rolling, and then we'll have the bare crankcase to position into the frame. It'll be a lot lighter without all the gubbins in it, and yeah, hopefully we can crack on and push this project forward, and that is the direction that it is going. A bit unusual. Most people have been very supportive of this project. Even the Ariel guys on social media have been, go for it. It's good to see an engine coming back to life. Use it for whatever you want to use it for. One guy was not particularly happy, sent me an email. I'm not going to, no names, but I'd just like to say, I'm not doing this project to rub anybody's nose in anything or anything like that. This is an itch that I've been wanting to scratch since I saw an Ariel Bantam at Stafford Show. It's happening. It's that simple. The guy that emailed me was a little bit disappointed that I was using a leader engine when he believed that there weren't many left in the world and there might be a leader that needed an engine. Well, if that's the case, you'll find one. It took me about 3 weeks to locate the engines that we have. Maybe I shouldn't have bothered, but anyway, it took me 3 weeks. So if you were really mad keen to find an engine, you would find one. This project is going ahead, like I said. So yeah, it's not to spite anyone or anything like that. It simply is because this is what I want to do, and I'm going to crack on. I'm going to do it. So thanks very much indeed for coming along on the journey with me. Yeah, that's it, I think. Thanks, as ever, to all of my subscribers, those of you who've recently come along. Welcome aboard. You're very welcome. Those of you who have put up with me for a while now, thanks very much for sticking with me. It is a huge privilege to have you along. And those of you who are just about to hit the button, do it. We won't cost you a shilling, and you know, we'll be making more videos, and you can join us on the next one. As a subscriber, what could be better than that? Mind how you go. I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.